if you start at the beginning, how did you two meet each other? How did you get together? How did the band start?
Around 2006, I started writing a bunch of tunes that wound up being the first album. The first three, which was called Satan Grim Reality and Allowance of Sin, were recorded pretty much a year before the other 5 tunes. Phil and I have a mutual friend, Chris Thomas. I was in another band at the time, and he was kind of hanging out with us, and I gave him a demo or a disc of the instrumentals, and he's like, there's a guy that I know that would be perfect for this. I just don't know where he is, and he's talking about Phil, and he said that he would try and find him, and I don't know if Chris ever got a hold of Phil. But
yeah, like the same within like a 48-hour period. I grew up, but Chris and I were friends. Hung out in the '80s together in Texas, and somehow Chris ended up in North Carolina. I was in Connecticut, and like within the same period, I guess Chris had given you my name, but he had contacted me, and when I checked my inbox, I had messages from both of them. One, you got to contact this guy Chad, and the other was Chris put me in touch with you, So he sent me the instrumentals, and I was already doing a record very similar, like conceptually wise, same kind of themes that he wanted to work with, and I was just dumped the project that I was in, which was almost everything was written for the new record, and they're just in pre-production, and it was difficult at that stage, so I just dumped that and jumped on this, and took all the lyrics and dumped them onto this record, and it just fit. We threw that record together. Like the first 3 songs, I just dropped those lyrics onto. It was like probably 45 minutes, and I sent him a demo from the time I sat down with him. It really was locked in. So, and then we sent, and then I was doing distribution around that time. I might have just closed my distribution, but I had a lot of contacts with all these smaller labels, and I put 2 songs into an email and sent it out to like 6 different labels, and had a couple offers, overnight. And so we hooked up with the first label, put up that first record that everybody's looking for.
And would you say the way you guys started out, as in you wrote the songs, you wrote the lyrics separately, is that how you continue to write together? Is that just the way you work? Can you tell me a bit about the writing process has it developed as you've gone on as a band? Is that the way you've sort of stayed? Because with this record, 333, obviously, I've read lots of your interviews, so obviously I'm doing it, but you write the music, you write the lyrics, and it's quite separate. Is that a key part of you as a band? Is that how you work best?
I think at this point, yeah. I think because we on the first record, I think it was we were both a little uncertain because we had to learn how to write together, and how it would work because of the distance factor. That was it. It wasn't like looking at what each other are doing is more of a matter of like there's a distance here, but after the second record, now we know, he can easily send me finished music. There might be a spot here because I don't like to get ahead of myself, so I leave a lot of open space, be like, put something here. So I don't want to sing on the lead parts or whatever, instrumental parts. So I don't just bury vocals on it. So it might be a little sparse, and he'll get back to me and say, well, we could really use something in this section, But otherwise, yeah, it seems to be the easiest way because it gives us the privacy to feel comfortable and do what we do, and we have confidence in each other. But at this point, then it's like we're not going to fuck it up. Nobody's going to go completely outside of where it is.
Music's always been fairly self-contained as it is, and everything. The thing I like about it is we don't write an assload of tunes and then have to choose between the ones that are on the record. All the music is written for a record. I'm not a fan of like keeping riffs that don't fit in a tune.
And for Chad, he has the record done without lyrics or titles. He's got the first song, second song. So from from his standpoint, this is the record. This is how it starts and this is how it ends. You know, he hears everything before it's done. I mean, and it's amazing to watch him record drums. You know, just like stay in time, nothing carrying him along. You know, just music in his head. And so I mean, he has a great idea of where he wants everything to be. You know? So when I get it, it's like done. So there's no like, Chad, can you add, you know, another section here, another section here. He sends me finished music. It's basically just some light mixing and then it drops the leads in there here and there. So, yeah.
conscious decision at the start to not really be a live band, or is that something that's just it's developed? Or
music, you know, he had some music and had some words and it was just, yeah, we didn't even think anything beyond that.
I mean, I had no clue that it was going to turn into what it did. I mean, maybe I still don't really, I mean, maybe I do and maybe I don't. I mean, I still don't really have a grasp on what it is, you know, or how far out we are. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I play my guitar, I write riffs. I don't pay attention. It doesn't really matter. But I'm glad that people like it and have opportunities to do things. But I love making records.
It's yeah, that's the same way. For me, it's all about making records. It's just writing music, making music. But it's difficult to determine whether, you know, we're a band or a project, I think, a lot of times. And so it's like, how far do you go, you know? But I mean, mainly we just want to put out records and, you know, make. And I don't think either one of us said put out records, like in the sense we want to make records. We just want to, you know, record these songs and put these songs together. And I think mostly for personal reasons, you know what I mean? Personal accomplishment. It's not, you know. And then part of the process, release the record, and you know, but that's all on the label. That's not us. So if they're interested in it and they want to take it, then we give it to them.
so would you say you have ambitions for the band, or is it you're just happy to see where things go?
Absolutely.
What ambitions do you have?
That's tormenting to me. You know, it's like, when is it time? You know, is this real? Or is it, that's what I'm saying, is it a band or is it a project? Are we just kind of recording here? Or, you know, putting out records? Or is this enough to really, you know, do what needs to be done? But you know, it's so hard to tell from where we're standing, you know.
So when you have like tons of people that are just like, hey, you guys are great, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. You know, 2 years later, we're still doing the same thing that we have been doing. So, but that's maybe neither anybody's fault. Just it's not time.
Right, and it's about time. Yeah, we wait for the right opportunities, and when the opportunities come, like Dublin and you know, and even doing the show in New York. I mean, there's the right time, but it really gives you a better understanding where you're at, and we're just really conscious of that. We do look at it and go, is it the right time? And it hasn't been. You know, but we're still very underground. It's still very word of mouth, and I think a lot of our fans are really passionate about it. But I think it also is very personal to them, and they don't really want to share it. You know, which I understand too. I'm like that too. Some bands do. He and I were talking about this band, Touch the Spider, today. You know, it's like we're glad they're where they're at because it's right now it's our band. You know?
So would you say there are any specific ambitions? You know, is there anything you want to achieve with the band that is, you know, quantifiable? Can you say, I would like to go to tour this country, or I'd like to make a record, and, you know, something creative about the, you know, is there something creative you want to do?
My ambition for the band is just to continue creating quality music that's not based upon how many tunes are on a record and how many songs are great and how many songs are okay. My only ambition in Hour 13 is to make consistent records all the time. I don't care if one record's better than the other. If it feels like it's a gratifying record to me, then I'm happy with it. Everybody else's opinion to me is secondary. I mean, you know, I can't help if the riffs that were written on the Ritualist aren't as powerful as the riffs on the first and third records. I don't look at it that way, and I don't care about it.
I was listening to the Ritualist, and I never really listened to it, but I don't think it was on here. That pretty much fell in my lap. Any inconsistency there, you know, because musically it's very consistent.
I think it's a great record.
I think I think my mindset at the time kind of was suffering. But I'm on the opposite end of this because, you know, this is, to me, I'm in this band because it's a heavy metal band, and I love heavy metal, and it's part of that, you know, that idea, man. You know, I just, being a kid growing up around that, if we could do the things that some of the bands did, you know, not huge things, but I would love for this band to be. But I would love for the whole scene to be back the way it was, you know, so, you know.
What bands would you say in that respect have influenced you as you were growing up? What bands were you looking at saying, that's what I want to be doing?
Well, I wouldn't say that's musically what I want to be doing, you know. I mean, when I started writing for you know, at the same time, when I started writing my lyrics, the same with my project, at the same time he started writing the music. It was like basically the same time we started on these projects. I mean, I was thinking of like Running Wild and Exciter and Stormwitch and, you know, all these bands that you know, weren't really going over the top, you know. I mean, I wasn't thinking like Iron Maiden or anything like that, but and then I just wanted, you know, I started thinking about other bands like Christian Death and stuff. So I was thinking, I guess, from a very cult standpoint, but then when I started seeing the reception and stuff, and when I started writing stuff, I was talking to Anais and Neil about it. It's like I write parts because this stuff is so classic sounding that I write parts and I hear them in a live setting, which I've never done with any other band because I don't like to play live. But it's just like this is classic, man. It's, you know, there's certain parts that are just like, you know, you can hear it in the audience, you know, in audience participation. I consciously write those parts, and you know, they never get there, but you still have to think like that, you know. I'm not thinking, you know, I'm thinking about Iron Maiden made in Japan, you know. When I hear some of this stuff, I'm like, oh man, this is great, you know. And I would love to take the music where I hear it, you know, where I hear it in these places, but the audience isn't there like it used to be. But it would be so great to just to be, you know, to be on stage in Memorial in 1986, you know.
Are there any current bands that you sort of feel Hour 13 are sort of aligned with, or that you feel like you're in a scene with, or that, you know, you consider to be your contemporaries?
To me, I mean, I have a really strong connection with Salim and Frida from Devil's Blood. As far as musical wise, I mean, we're two totally different bands, you know, with two totally different ideas, but as a common energy together, I mean, you know, I mean, they're a great band. I mean, I don't contemporaries. I don't really.
I didn't think we were big time contemporaries because when Devil's Blood came out and Hour 13 were coming out, even though we were completely different styles, you know, like not completely different, but you know, I mean, they had this psych influence and we were more new wave of British heavy metal influence. But then underneath that, then that's where the similarities came. But people constantly reference us together as one band, you know, until we kind of, you know, drifted, you know, away because I kept leaving. That's when people stopped acknowledging Devil's Blood and Hour 13 in the same breath. But in the beginning they did. But then also I see, you know, us in contemporaries with like Portrait. Personally, I do. You know, Chad is in a different place than I, but Portrait and In Solitude, you know, they're a little more straightforward than us. Like you can hear, you know, what they're doing clear, and then you hear Merciful Fate or something like that. But you know, In Solitude, when they came out, I mean, they've been around forever since they were kids. But I kind of think we're in that vein of, you know, traditional style, and then there's the other elements.
But the Devil guys from Norway, those dudes are I really respect what they're doing. I mean, they're still young too. I think their take on it is.
But a Priest is a really band that's like, I think, you know, probably if any band I would put this like right streamline right next to them. And there's a few bands, you know. But yeah, I was thinking about that earlier because we were talking about the Priest, and I would say, listening to their record, I think we're more similar to that. And they've been doing their thing for a little while too. I mean, they were demoing forever, just pushing them to finish their fucking records. They got it done.
Well, speaking about that, what actually do you feel like there's a catalyst or something that's specific that motivates you to write an album? How do you know when it's time to write an album? Is it something that comes naturally? Is it something you're working on constantly?
I know when it's time when it shows up on my inbox. That's it.
Yeah, doing the records kind of drains me a lot, and that's why I have a bunch of different bands projects that I do, because it helps keep my interests in perspective. You know, some things have evolved out of just being frustrated and not being able to write music whenever I want to, and that's why I just sort of stopped doing that. You know, the Hour 13 records happen when they happen. You know, I I don't sit down over the course of a year and play a bunch of riffs. You know, generally whenever I sit down and write, it except for the new record, like the first record, and I don't know the first record either because I had the first 3 tunes and then the other 5. But those other 5 tunes came out all in one day, just like the first 3 songs did, and then the Ritualist was written and recorded at the same time over the course of like 3 days. We had the versions that became the demo, the 2009 demo, Naked Star and Possession and Soldiers. Yeah. But all the other tunes were there, so all they needed to be was recorded. It just depends on when it shows up. I mean, I don't force it, and that's what I think really gives Hour 13 its word I'm looking for. Power.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm more of a workhorse, so like for me it's just like when it shows up I do it. I would love to be in the situation he is in, but I've just never. To me, it's just a very short time. I come home, and pick it up after work, and just go get it done and do it. I long for a time when I could just kind of say, spend the time and pick it out. But I'm always everything's there for me in advance, and so I feel like everybody's waiting for me. So I just go when I do it. But that's what's expected of me at that point, because we're both in a lot of projects, and my projects always revolve around saying people give me the finished stuff, so just hang it out.